Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. I've now decided on a name, which is Mike's RC Review, which isn't original, but well, it's gonna have to do because at the end of the day I can't keep calling myself Hanger 9 X-Cub Build and Review because I've now passed that point. So for the past month or so I've been contemplating in looking for a substitute hobby for times that I cannot fly, and I think I've found the perfect hobby to do that now in Victoria, in Australia, for the better part. One thing we don't have freedom in is guns. Now, I am a gun lover. I do love guns. I'm originally from the Philippines, and in the Philippines we do have guns. I've fired guns there before and absolutely love them. But in Australia it is almost impossible for someone to own a pistol, which is good, and I'll explain to you in a second why. And it's almost, if not absolutely impossible to own rifles, and I'm talking about semi-auto rifles like M4s, M16s, AKs and all that. Now, brothers and sisters in the United States have that freedom. We don't. That's another hobby that I would want to have here in Australia, but it's just too hard to even start and go down that line. So that's why I've gone for the planes, and that's why in the past I've gone helicopters, even though they cost as much, if not more, than owning guns. But to substitute this for the times that I can't fly, for the times that it's raining or times that I just don't feel like flying, I have decided to switch to crawling. And the reason why I've unboxed it and not calling this an unbox is because, well, this car is, in theory, well, it is 3 years old. It's been out in the market now for 3 years, and it's no point doing an unboxing on it because there's been hundreds of unboxes of this vehicle and even reviews of this vehicle online. So I won't bore you with that. What I will do, however, is tell you what it is, for those that don't know what it is, and most importantly, because this is going to be one of those keep watching my channel kind of things where I will tell you what I'm going to do to it, because it's going to be very exciting for those that are into crawling. I will tell you exactly what I'm going to put in this car, what I'm going to do to it, and how it's going to look like in the end. So without further ado, I'll explain to you what it is. It is a Traxxas TRX-4 Landrover Defender. Now, just for reference, guys, we are in mid-June 2020. We are in the midst and the height of COVID-19 pandemic. So what that means for all of us is air freight, and any freight for that matter, is almost damn near impossible to get. Yellow was not my first choice. In fact, it probably wasn't even my last because I don't like the color yellow. But I had to make do with it because it was the only one Australia-wide that I could find, that I could access and that I could purchase. Out of all TRX4s, or out of all Traxxas TRX4 products, there was 2 in Australia that I managed to find, and I did call every single hobby shop that popped up on Google. So what I did was Google hobby shops in Victoria, then hobby shops in New South Wales, hobby shops in Queensland, hobby shops in Perth, hobby shops in South Australia, hobby shops in Northern Territory, hobby shops in Tasmania, and every single hobby shop that came up on Google I actually called, and every single hobby shop in Australia that I called said, actually they almost laughed when I asked if they had a TRX4 Traxxas Defender, or any TRX4 for that matter, in stock. It was that laughable because apparently I was very late to the game. Everybody bought whatever stock they had remaining of Traxxas TRX4s just before the border closures started. So there was one that was left, and I'm not going to tell you where I got it because it was a little bit difficult to get, but I did find it not so close to me. So I paid, the other thing I'm not going to say is how much I paid, because I don't want the guy to think that that I ripped him off with the price that I paid for it. But in any case, I've got it, and that's the most important thing. Now, it was something that is classified as secondhand, but not at the same time, because it was never driven. So I think it was a present or something like that, and they just yeah, they just didn't like it or whatever. For whatever reason, I've got it now. So I haven't driven it yet. I've had it for 2 days now. It hasn't been driven. I've not even put a battery through it. So the TRX-4, for those that don't know what it is, if you ask any hobby shop what's the best first crawler that you could purchase. So if, like me, for instance, I was asking hobby shops, even though they didn't have any in stock, I'd still ask them, look, it's my first crawler, it's my first off-roader, what should I buy, kind of thing, you know, because they would try to sell you a different item knowing that they don't have the one you want in stock. So a lot of them would answer the question by saying the Traxxas product, Traxxas TRX-4 predominantly, was the best thing to start off with. Now, they had multiple bullet points or multiple reasons why that was, because as a first-time crawler, I don't have the skill, obviously, of seasoned veteran crawlers where they don't need diff locks, or they don't need or don't use two-speed transmissions. This has it all out of the box without you even touching it. As soon as you take it out of the box, what you get is a front locking diff, rear locking diff, obviously four-wheel drive. So you get front diff lock, rear diff lock, and you also get a two-speed transmission, high and low. So out of the box, you've got that. Now, for those that know what that is, they're features that are brilliant to have. Because I do drive an SUV, my wife's SUV, which is for lack of a better word, it is a four-wheel drive. It does have a rear diff lock, not a front diff lock. It's got a rear diff lock, standard from the factory. It is a full-time four-wheel drive, not all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, because it's got four-wheel drive high and four-wheel drive low, and it's also got a host of other features. So I know what they do. I know what those features are. Now, this car has obviously the front lock, rear lock, two-speed transmission. It is a brushed motor, which for crawling is more than sufficient. And look, the reasons behind it are long, so I'm not going to go into that. But it's got a brushed 21-turn Titan motor. It also comes with a speed controller that can handle 2S or 3S LiPo. It can also handle NIM or nickel metal hydride batteries. And it comes with a transmitter, which is a 5-channel transmitter, if I'm not mistaken. It could actually be a 4, I'm not 100% sure, because it shares one channel for diff lock, so front diff lock and rear diff lock. So the reason why it needs multiple channels, see, most of the time crawlers only come with 3 channels, or 2 channels even. So 3 channels because you've got throttle, you've got steering, and then you've got either a 2-speed or two-stage transmission. That's it. What the Traxxas gets is you get the transmission, so a 2-speed transmission, which is there. Then you get, so that's one channel. Second channel will be your throttle. Third channel is your steering. And fourth channel, so it is a 4-channel. So fourth channel is your shared diff lock, which is a 2-position switch. So you've got differentials open, front diff lock, front and rear diff lock. Now that already for me is a problem, because I'm noticing what I've got there. What's in my X Cub is a 20-channel transmitter from Spectrum. In that one there is a 6-channel as it is, which is the foamy from E-Flight. So this having to share one channel is already a problem for me. It's already a disappointment. So watch this space, because that will not stay. But out of the box, what you get is the mechanicals, and that's something that if you are going to buy one from, say, Axial, or the other up and coming brand is Red Cat with their I think it's called a Gen 2 Axe. Hint, hint. What they get is for instance, in the Red Cat version, because that's the other thing that I wanted to contemplate buying. Red Cat gets the better motor, better system, better transmitter, and better almost everything, but it still doesn't get the diff locks, and it still doesn't get the 2-stage transmission. Okay, now one negative about this that people always complain about online is the fact that it is top heavy. And the reason why it's top heavy is because of the roof rack, and it's because of the roll cage. It's also because of the fact that they incorporated the fenders or the wheel arches into the body. The other thing it's got is a usable spare wheel, and well, these aren't usable, but they're good to see. The jack and also the fuel cans. Now the fuel cans can remain in red. I just wish the jack wasn't, because I haven't seen a red jack yet. I've seen jacks with red handles, but the whole thing, I think they come in black. So probably have to look at a real four-wheel drive jack online and see what color I can paint that in, because that's definitely going to be repainted. Look, as a first-time crawler, first and foremost, I'm not going to use this to bash it. It costs a lot of money to actually do that too. For those of you who know what a Traxxas TRX-4 Defender is in Australia, you'd also know how much these things retail for. They retail for roughly 500 US, which means they are almost double in Australian dollars, and that's a lot of money. That's pretty much 1 week's wage for a lot of people. So it's a lot of money to bash. Now, there are people online that buy these specifically to bash them. Now, a lot of people who are doing that online are obviously people that are sponsored by, Traxxas or their hobby shops, or, they get given one by a friend, not knowing they've already got one, and, so that leaves them one that they can bash. I don't bash my RC products and cars. The reason being is I don't love them, but they're things that I paid for with my own money, and bashing something like this would just mean I might as well have taken the amount of money I paid for it and just have burnt it, because I might get enjoyment out of it by doing that, but it'll be damaged, right? So this is not going to be a garage queen either. I mean, it will be used, but not to the point of destroying it, not to the point of destruction. It will actually see a little bit of dirt. It will not be submerged, but it will see what a real scale four-wheel drive will see. Like, for instance, the four-wheel drive that we own, which is a Ford Everest, it'll see what that will see, which is, your odd hills, your odd little dirt track. That's what this will see. Now, without blabbering on too much, exterior, the other reason why I chose Traxxas, by the way, is if it is a word, it's a word, but if it's not, well, just excuse me for it, but the modifiability of it, okay? So there are heaps of modifications you can do to a Traxxas TRX-4. You can take this off, for instance, take that whole thing off and make it look like just what a normal Defender would look like. Now, this model Defender ended in 2015 from Landrover. It is a licensed body. So being licensed, it means it has to look the part. So for Landrover to license this, it has to have been something that they like the look of, obviously, because they would have consulted with Traxxas would have consulted with Landrover before they even released this. The other thing is a licensed body means that it costs more to buy, and that's why this thing does carry a hefty price tag. So one thing, now I'm going to tell you what I'll be doing to this, but I'll be updating the channel obviously once I do get the upgrades. So the first upgrade that will be done will be the Titan 21 is shifting out of here. The speed controller, obviously, with that is shifting out of here as well. The receiver and transmitter is shifting out of here. So when I'm finished with this car, it's going to have a different motor. Brushless, not brushed. It's going to have a different transmitter and receiver, because it's going to have one channel for every single feature that it has. So that would mean I can utilize a separate channel for the front diff locks, a separate channel for the rear diff locks, and then the two-speed transmission is going to have its own channel as well. And then eventually, when my light kit comes in, that's going to be the other thing that will be added on to that spare channel. Now, the transmitter I've gone for is a FlySky GT5, which is confusing, because the GT5, you'd think, if you don't know it, is a 5-channel. No, it's not. It's actually a 6. So the GT5 GT5 transmitter from FlySky, as stated by a lot of people online, is the go-to transmitter for those that don't want to spend hundreds of dollars. That transmitter was the cheapest I can find for the features that it had, and it also has a screen, which this doesn't. Okay. The other modification so the transmitter with 6 channels. The other mod that I'll be doing is the Hobbywing Axe 550 3300 kV. Now, for the people that know what that is, you'll be getting excited because there are a lot of scale crawlers that utilize that power system, but not a lot of Traxxas owners that utilize that system. So a lot of people who buy the Hobbywing Axe system use the 2300 kV Axe 540. I've ordered the 550. In fact, I've already got it. I've got the 550 with the 3300 kV, and I just happened to stumble upon it. My local hobby shop, which I thought wouldn't even have one because everything's out of stock, I was asking for the Axe 540, and lo and behold, they said, no, we don't have that, but we've got the 550. So that's something that I went for. The other thing is the steering servo will be replaced as well. Now the steering servo that I'll be replacing it with will be a Power HD 25 kilo waterproof high voltage system, which I can use on 7.4, but that would mean that these servos, which are the locking diffs, won't work because these are low voltage. So I can only run that on 6. Still, 25 kilos as a 6 volt is what they're saying. So that's one upgrade. So I've got the transmitter covered, I've got the motor and ESC covered from Hobbywing. The other thing, and also the steering servo. So that's the 3 that are changing straight away. And then the other one is the wheels. I'll be getting beadlock wheels for it. Haven't decided which ones yet. So beadlock wheels, and I already know I'm going to get a Proline BF Goodrich tires. So that's one thing that will be getting put on this rig. The other thing is, even though there's no need to, because these springs are actually very, very good as they are out of the box, I'll be replacing these with King springs with the reservoir. With or without, I haven't decided yet actually, but they're definitely going to be the blue King springs, 90mm. So when I'm finished with this, it'll also have the metal grill around here, a rock climber bull bar, so it'll be a short bull bar with a worn winch, and I'll be putting on the Traxxas light kit with a light bar here, and it'll also have the 4 IPF lights here, or Hella lights, which ones, whatever they're called, they'll be put here. So I'll have 2 lights, set of lights there, headlights, indicator lights, fog lights on the bottom for the bumper. The rear will have a rear steel bar. I'll also replace these with steel crawler side steps. And basically it will be a simple look, but a very tough look. So what I'll do is I'll update you guys as I get them in stock, as I get them in. So I'll be fitting them pretty much all at the same time. See, I like doing it all at the same time. So what I'll do is I won't even drive this until I've got all of those in line. Cosmetically, I can do the cosmetic upgrades one by one, but the mechanicals, I'll definitely do them all at the same time. So then I've only got to pull all these apart once, because there's a little bit of soldering to do, there's a little bit of replacing to do. So you'd only want to do them once, because at least then, like the waterproof seal on this, for instance, you don't want to keep pulling off, and you don't want to keep unscrewing things, more than once if you absolutely don't have to. So thank you for joining me once again, guys, as this is just a talking video. It's not an action video, but it'll soon turn into an action video once I've got all of the parts put together, and once I've got this put together. So thank you for following me, for those that keep following me. Until I get this up and running, it's going to be probably a couple of week wait, as the only thing I'm waiting for right now is the new transmitter, which I think is coming from somewhere in Australia. So whatever I buy on eBay, I try to buy in Australia, because our borders are still closed. So it's absolutely almost impossible to get stuff from any other country, for instance China, where no freight is coming in from there. And even if it is, it's coming by ship, which means it takes a long time. So I've pretty much started this hobby of crawling at the wrong time, but then again, I'm lucky enough, fortunate enough to actually have one sitting in my lounge room, because every hobby shop, as I said, is out of stock of these, and even the parts that I'm trying to source are almost impossible to get. So it's been a bit of a long video once again, guys, but it is my first crawler. So for those that have supported me on the planes, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I do hope that you keep following me on the cars, but if it bores you, well, I hope I see you again on the next plane video that I will get one day. So thanks for joining me today. Until next time, stay safe, and peace.